Now, I recently spoke to Mr. Ibrahim Farinloye. He's the he works with the National Emergency Management Agency, that's NEMA, and he told us that between yesterday afternoon when the building came down and now, that about 9 people have been recovered from the building. 5 were brought out alive and 4 are dead. So in total, that's what we have as at now. The National Emergency Management Agency members were working all through the night. They took a break at about 3 to 4 a.m. so that they can rejuvenate and get their strength back. And then early this morning, they were back on site. They also said that they heard voices from under the rubble of certain people, meaning that there are still certain survivors in there. They tried to tell them to, not to raise their voices so they can conserve some energy while, members of NEMA and other rescue agencies continue digging through the rubble. I'll step out of the way to see if you can actually see what's going on behind me. There are still earth-moving equipment, excavators and others trying to dig through the rubble and see if they can find more survivors from the wreckage of this 21-story building that caved in yesterday afternoon. But there are still complaints and a few disgruntled people complaining that if the rescue team did start their operations earlier, just maybe some people would have been brought out alive.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, talking about the rescue team and the angry people. The Deputy Governor, Femi Hamzat, visited the site and a lot of people complained, like you said, that the rescue team didn't start their work on time. So can you give us an update on what the rescue team is doing right now and how far they've gone?
Well, as at now, the rescue team is still here. As I mentioned earlier, they worked almost all through last night. Remember, again, it rained in this axis of Lagos yesterday, which also made rescue work a bit difficult. As at 10 p.m. last night, when we were leaving here, there were about 3 excavators, if I'm not mistaken. There were fire trucks, there were ambulances. It clearly was the site of a disaster, and you could see that rescue was ongoing. Officers of the Nigerian Police, the Army, the NSCDC, the Federal Road Safety Corps, almost every uniformed officer that you can recognize in Lagos and in Nigeria had representatives here to make sure that rescue work commenced as soon as they possibly could. Remember again that this is Iko, it's a highbrow area, it's a busy area, so getting here as at the time of the disaster was pretty difficult. Even we had to, make the rest of the journey on foot. But again, like Mr. Ibrahim Fariloye said, whom we spoke to this morning, in times of disaster, it's the first responders that will be the first emergency rescue agents. So it was, and that's what we saw here yesterday. Residents who lived around, workers who were closing from work, or just innocent Nigerians that were making their way home or to other places decided to jump into the rubble and try to help those that they could. But besides that, we have rescue agencies still doing what they can. And now you're looking at what you're seeing right now to my right, a group of people who probably are relatives or friends or colleagues of some of the victims or some of the people trapped in the rubble. They're sitting here waiting to hear any kind of information, anything that will bring hope to them concerning their family members or relatives or friends. I'm hoping that they are still alive and that they can still be found.
All right. Now, we hear, Bernard, that the journalists covering the occurrence are having quite an issue. Can you tell us what the update there is and the kind of issues the journalists are having?
Well, I think the only issue that we're having is that, as you would expect, we've all been, as of yesterday, we had access. We were able to gain access into the premises, of the building where it came down from. But now you can see this morning, the gate is half shut while rescue work is ongoing, and we've all been moved out. So some sort of perimeter has been created between us and the building or the rubble of the building. So we don't exactly have direct access into the area where the building came down, and that largely is the challenge that we're having presently. Rescue workers, security operatives have been trying to, move members of the press a bit away from where, the occurrence actually took place. And that's because sometimes it's difficult to differentiate between reporters, pressmen, and just onlookers or people who just want to take pictures or make videos on their phone or with their phones. There was that challenge last night, and it still happened again this morning. So because of that, and also for safety reasons, we've been moved further back, and a certain perimeter has been created between us and the site of the occurrence.
Right. Finally, Bernard, now since the incident occurred, some documents concerning the building has surfaced, and a lot of people talking about it online. What would you say about it since you're on ground to cover it?
Well, since the incident actually occurred, a lot of things have been going on. We've heard a lot of statements from people, and then that document that also has gone viral about one or some of the contractors saying that they pulled out from the construction of the building when they found out or they figured out that the building may not exactly be safe, or that the builders or the owner of the structure may have been flouting regular building regulations. Nobody has come out to confirm that. Nobody has said anything about that for now, so we can't categorically say whether say what that particular letter stands for or what it means. We're still waiting to hear official information from the state government, from the official builders of that particular structure, and from anybody who can give us authentic information as to what exactly may have caused this 21-story building to cave in and collapse. But until then, a lot of information will be flying around social media. Would also like to reiterate here that we should try to avoid fake news. We've seen a lot of that yesterday. We've seen pictures and images of buildings that have collapsed that have nothing to do with what we've seen here. We've seen images and pictures of people who have died in collapsed buildings that are not related to what we've seen here. And we've seen information, news, letters also concerning structures that have gone down that have nothing to do with what we are speaking about here. So we also need to be careful with what we're sharing and what we're posting as regards what exactly has happened here. So again, answering your question, we cannot exactly say so much about that letter until we get authentic information from people who are in position of authority concerning the occurrence right here behind me.